Hi, I'm Susie and I am a mum of 3. I have 2 boys and a girl, and I love being a mum, and I have had some of the best days of my life with my kids, but I've also had some of the hardest days of my life with my kids, and perhaps you have experienced that too as a mum. So I have created this series of videos which are called Please Listen to Me Because I Wish I'd Listened to Them. And really this comes out of the advice that I received when I was a mum and my children were young, and that I really just didn't listen to, and people time and time again told me that I was just doing too much, and I didn't take heed of what they said. I didn't slow down, and eventually ended up in quite a state of burnout. And it's sort of a cycle that continues because I put unrealistic expectations upon myself and sometimes on them too. And I have done a video about expectations, so if you haven't seen that one, do follow that. You can find that on my YouTube channel. This video today is about comparison, and this is something that I know a lot of women struggle with. It's something that I struggle with a lot, is to compare myself to others. And I compare myself and I always fall short, and comparison steals joy. I don't know who said that, I've heard it somewhere, so I can't give credit to whoever said it, but it's very true. Comparison steals our joy because we look at what others have and we fall short, and therefore we're not content with what we have got. We don't perhaps celebrate what we have achieved, how far we have come. When I first had a baby, I had obviously my maternity leave, and then I went back to work and I did an apprenticeship in youth work, which I really enjoyed, and I was working part-time and obviously looking after my son part-time before I then fell pregnant with my daughter. And all the time more and more things were being added onto my plate. There were more and more things that I was trying to juggle. And I would compare myself to my friends who didn't work, and I would try and be the kind of mum that they were. I didn't make any allowances for the fact that I was a working mum, and that perhaps we weren't going to make it to quite so many toddler groups, or we wouldn't have quite as many play dates. I just tried to shove more and more into my life, and ultimately you're going to get to a point of feeling overwhelmed if you do that. So I just want to encourage you not to compare yourself to other mums, not to look at what other people are doing and try and follow their pattern. Obviously we can look and we can see good things that we should emulate, but don't try and compete with other people. I remember in the early days our postnatal group used to meet for coffee in each other's houses, and it was lovely, but it would put a lot of pressure on us because we would want to tidy up. We'd want to make sure there was plenty of toys and things out for the other children to play with, and it became a sort of tradition to bake. And actually, I know with some people who've come around my home, they've said how comfortable they feel because it's homely. And I just want to encourage you that you don't always have to have a perfect house, and actually coming into your house and seeing a little bit of mess might be the encouragement another mum feels as she's comparing herself to you. So actually, by being realistic in our expectations of ourselves, we can help others who are struggling in this comparison battle as well, to kind of go, actually, I don't have to measure up to these expectations. And then of course we can compare our children. And my son Nathan was quite a big baby, and he didn't roll over when the other children seemed to roll over, but he did get to his feet very young. He started walking at about 9 months, and I was so proud of this. And that's the other side of the comparison trap, is that we can compare ourselves to others and think that we're somehow better than other mums, and that doesn't leave us in a good place either. We're not going to be a very helpful friend if we're thinking, well, why hasn't their baby started walking yet? Why is their child not reading yet? All these sorts of things aren't very helpful. And I remember when my daughter was born, I was quite worried. I went to see the health visitor because I was comparing her to her brother, and I thought, she hasn't started grabbing things, maybe she hasn't got the grabbing reflex. And of course, in front of the health visitor, she grabbed the health visitor's pencil. So don't compare yourselves to others, don't compare your children to other children, and don't even compare your children to their siblings, because every child is unique and they do things in their own time. So my second piece of advice is to avoid comparison, remembering that comparison can kill joy. And if you would like another little piece of homework to do, another cup of tea exercise, it would be to think about the people who are in your circle. Think about the people who are your peers and the positive things that you can learn from them. But as you're doing that, I would also like you to think about the people in your circle who perhaps you feel you don't measure up to. I'd really love it if that would inspire you to give praise to other mums. We all need a bit of encouragement. Maybe there's someone you can text today and say something encouraging. And when you do go around someone's home, be careful not to compare yours and think it's not as tidy as this, but to praise them. If they've made a lovely cake, praise them for that. If their home is warm and welcoming, praise them and say how welcome you feel in their home. And if their child does something that yours can't do, celebrate it with them rather than counting against your child and trying to cheery them along on reaching those goals. So I hope that was helpful to you. Please do subscribe to my channel. This is part of a series that I'm doing, and there's still some really exciting topics that I want to share with you. And do get in touch, because I do love to hear from you. Thank you so much for joining me, and I just pray that you'd be encouraged in your journey as a mum.